and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support our show, please use our Amazon affiliate link below. Today we are going to discuss 8 reasons why houseplant leaves may turn yellow. So these are things to look out for if you start to see some yellowing leaves, especially if you start to see a lot of yellowing leaves. Then this is definitely something that you want to look at. These eight possibilities to see if you need to make any changes in growing your houseplants. So the first one is overwatering or underwatering. These are 2 very common causes of yellow leaves. If your plant is underwatered, it will eventually sacrifice some of the foliage. It'll turn yellow and then it will drop that foliage. So this will often happen towards the bottom of the plant, and this is not really doing it this plant, but it will do it at the bottom of the plant. And that's the leaves that it will sacrifice. So keep that in mind, especially if you see them to start yellowing and then start dropping off. So make sure that you're watering enough. Now, watering too much can also cause the yellowing leaves. When you water too much, you can set off a root rot cycle. So root rot comes from a fungal pathogen that will start to rot roots, and it will eventually shut down the roots. So what happens is that the plant actually, even though you're overwatering, dies of thirst. It dies from being droughted because the roots themselves basically turn off, they shut down, they turn off, they rot because they're rotting, and they stop giving the foliage water. So then what happens is the leaves yellow and then they fall off. So if you're seeing a lot of yellowy leaves and the soil is really, really wet, that's a good indication that you do have a case of root rot. I have a root rot series that you can take a look at to see if that may be the problem and then what to do if it is the problem. So watering, very important that you're doing proper watering. Make sure that you are watering when you should, not overwatering. I have many videos on watering. I have a playlist that includes a bunch of videos on watering. I'll put the link below. Another thing to keep in mind when you do water is to water with warm to tepid water, not cold water. Cold water will cause leaf spotting, and that will also cause leaf yellowing. So there's enough spotting, you've got the yellowing, and you've got that whole problem there too. So warm to tepid water, and I do have a video that explains more about that and why, and I do mention it quite a bit as well. Okay. Another reason is improper lighting. So this can be too much or too little lighting. There are houseplants that like it more of a medium low light, and if you put them into a really bright window, they are going to react by having their leaves start to yellow up. Usually what will happen is a gradual yellowing unless it's really too bright and the leaves get sunburned, and I do have a video on that as well. So, but if it's just overall just too much light for that plant, ferns are some of the plants that really don't like a lot of light. Calathea don't, nerve plant, so those are some that don't like a lot of light. And as mentioned, what will happen is your once green leaves will slowly get more yellow and more yellow. And this is going to be kind of an all over kind of a look on the plant as well, especially more yellowing on the window side of the plant. Okay, so if that is the case, move the plant away from the window, find a more of a dimmer light, medium low light conditions for that plant. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, there are plants that really like the bright light. Succulents, for instance, croton really likes a bright light. So in that case, if Plants that need a brighter lighting conditions aren't given enough light. Their leaves will start to yellow and fall off. And they will lose tend to lose the leaves on the lower part of the plant first. So in that case, you want to move them into a brighter lighting condition. There's also full spectrum lighting is a perfect solution for not having enough light in your house. The full spectrum light bulbs simulate daylight, and they come in all kinds of bulbs now that fit into all kinds of fixtures. So there's really no reason not to get a full spectrum light bulb to help supplement your plants in your indoor garden, or several full spectrum lights. And they also make lighting units as well. Okay, so the next thing is shock from transport. Now, this could be transporting your plant from one side of the house to the other. Depending on how picky the plant is about moving. It could also occur when you repot the plant, that plants will yellow up leaves after repotting because of shock, because they're like, what did you do? What's happened? That kind of thing. And then also if you move, so if you change residence with your houseplants, it can also occur. Ficus benjamina is notorious for doing this. China doll is another plant that's notorious for dropping leaves. Generally, the leaves will yellow first and then they will drop off. Sometimes they'll drop off green, but a lot of times they will do that yellowing. So that's another reason. So if you have recently done something where you have moved your plant, repotted your plant, it is doing some yellowing leaves, don't panic. It's probably going to be okay. Give it a little time to bounce back from the shock, and the plant will probably stop with all the yellow leaves. Okay, so another reason for yellow leaves is leaves just get old. And this generally happens on the lower leaves. You'll see this happen on the lower leaves of things like croton. You'll see this happen on the lower older leaves on pothos as well. Ficus, as well as the Ficus lyrata does it as well. So there's a lot of plants that do this, and all plants will not hold all their leaves forever. The leaves do mature, they do get old, they will fall off. So that's something to keep in mind. So especially if you see what looks like older leaves, they're bigger leaves, they look older, you know you've seen that leaf on there for a long time. Once again, don't panic. That just means that it was the leaf's time to go, and usually what will happen is it will be replaced with a new leaf that will take over in that area eventually. Sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it happens fairly quickly, and then the plant will fill in there as well. So maturity, like I said, another really good normal reason, nothing you need to do about that. Actually, you can congratulate yourself for having the plant growing for you that long to have a mature leaf to drop off. Okay, the next thing is the plant is hungry. The plant needs some fertilizer. So houseplants will develop an overall yellowy look if they really are in need of fertilizer. They also can get some yellowing leaves if the pH is off. I have a series on adjusting the pH and checking the pH, so linking that as well, because it's really important to, if you try all these different things, you're still getting some yellowing leaves and leaf drop, then or even just yellowing leaves, you really want to check the pH and then fertilize accordingly to adjust the pH. So, and as mentioned, just fertilizer in general, especially nitrogen deficiencies, that nutrient, that's a macronutrient, and that nutrient, when that nutrient's low in the soil, then you're going to get an overall yellowing of the leaves. And a really easy solution is to fertilize. Now, if you've been fertilizing, you're still getting those yellowing leaves, and you determine that it's a lack of fertilizer, it could be that the plant needs to be repotted. So, and I have an example here. This Chef Lara here, I have a video on growing them as well. And as I mentioned in that video, Chef Lara's grow pretty quick. They're a fast-growing plant. This one was repotted not too long ago, less than 6 months ago, and it's already outgrown this pot. And you can see it has a little bit of a yellowy sheen on it. Some of the leaves are a little more yellowy than others. So that is an indication to me that it's time for me to repot it. And when I do that, it will get all the nutrients it needs. So even as mentioned, I have been fertilizing, but it's just not getting enough because there's not enough root, there's not enough soil here for the root mass. And when I do fertilize, what happens is that the plant takes up all the fertilizer. It's just not enough fertilizer for the roots that are in there. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, another reason for yellowing leaves is pests, and this includes things like spider mites, which are little spiders. They look like little spiders, and they suck plant juices. Mealybugs and scale also do the same thing, and I do have a pest series to take a look at in terms of this. So in determining, is this a pest problem? Using a jeweler's loupe, a plant magnifier, and I have a video on those. That will magnify the leaves for you, so you can take a really good look, and then you will be able to see things like spider mites are very small. So if you see something running around on the leaf, or if you see little white specks on the leaf, or you see little brown or gray bumps, that's scale. White would be the mealybugs, some mealybugs going on there, and the spider mites, as mentioned, would be running around. So if you're having a lot of yellowing and it's sticky substance on the leaves as well, those are all signs of pest invasion, and that will yellow up your leaves quickly, because what happens is those pests feed on the chlorophyll and on the leaves, so they suck the plant. They suck the insides of the leaf, and that's why the leaves yellow. You may see yellow patterns on them as well. Another reason is temperature. So remember, most houseplants are tropical in nature. A lot of them are from the jungle floors, from areas where there's high humidity, warm temperatures year round, not extreme temperatures. So if you live in an area where there are extreme temperatures, so it gets cold in the winter, it gets very hot in the summer. This is more common when in the winter, when the temperatures dip. So most houseplants thrive in temperatures between 65 and 80 degrees. So when you get a lot colder than 65, especially when you get into the 50s, then you're going to start having some yellowing of leaves on the plants. The plants have slowed way down in growth. The plants basically are being told that they are in a state of dormancy, and which isn't even normal for the plants that are native to the tropics, etc. So that will cause yellowing of leaves and also a state of shock as well. So if you're having that kind of problem in the colder months of the year for you, then try to figure out ways to get the plants warmed up some, and they will should stop with the yellowing of leaves, providing all other reasons are covered. I do have a video too on how you can warm the house plant roots, which will a lot of times prevent those yellowing leaves and leaf drop as well. Because really what we're talking about, the yellowing leaves, obviously they're alarming and they don't look good, but when you start to lose a lot of foliage, that becomes even more of a problem as well. Now, the last reason here for the leaves to look yellowy is it could be because it's a new leaf. This is this plant here, you can see here, has a little bit of a leaf that is yellowy there. So so you can see that, right? Okay, so sometimes when the plants are just growing, the leaves are new and just growing, then what can happen is you can get, like this plant, like what's going on this plant, you can get some yellowy leaves, but then they turn green. So if the plant is new to you and you're just not used to it as much, growing it as much, and you're not sure, then what very well could be the case is, like in this plant here, is that that's just the way plant grows. So it's going to have some more limey looking leaves that then eventually green up. A lot of times those new leaves don't have a lot of chlorophyll in them yet, so they haven't had as much time to photosynthesize, so that's very normal too. So as mentioned, where you could have the one end where it's the plants that the leaves are old and dying, it could be on the other end of it, the plants that are the leaves that are new and just need to green up. And then one thing I didn't mention when I was talking about underwatering, this one here, this plant here, this philodendron, you'll see it has a little leaf with a little yellow on one side. This plant needs to be repotted. It's another one that needs to be repotted. The philodendrons, they do tend to really take in the water as well. So it could have been, this leaf could have been from one day when it got a little drier than it should have. But I mean, overall, you can see the plant's pretty healthy. But so if you see like this, one leaf here and there, that's just normal. That's also just normal growth. So don't be too alarmed. It's when you start to see a pattern. Anytime you start to see a pattern with your houseplants, any kind of a pattern, then, and obviously a good pattern would be lots and lots of really pretty growth, but if you start to see a pattern of not so good stuff, whatever it could be, and yellow leaves are one of them, then you want to start doing some investigating to find out where that problem is coming from before you lose all the leaves or you lose the plant, etc. So that gives you a really good overview of why houseplant leaves turn yellow and when to be on the lookout, what to be on the lookout for, and when to be concerned, and when you can just say it's a natural part of the houseplant growing process. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.